All right, here we are in part two of this little series. This is if I were to draw a pyramid for your holistic growth plan, getting where you want to get in business, getting where you want to get in physical health, emotional health, all that stuff in the wheel of life. There's one thing, well, there's a couple of things depending on who you are, but there's one thing that's going to be at the base of that pyramid that you can build everything else on top of. And it's something that some people talk about, other people think it's kind of woo woo, and it is your mindset. Okay. And you got to have an amazing mindset in order to do all these things. We have all kinds of limiting beliefs from money stuff to, I can't get there because imposter syndrome, all these kinds of things, they're going to limit you from growing. So if at first you just have that growth mindset, that's good. I talked about that in the first video. If you're open to new techniques, that's really good too. But your mindset is going to determine where you can really go. Okay? I'm going to give you an example here. Okay? When I opened my gym, it was a tight budget. I got all the equipment and everything. Yes, I had a couple of investors. I got this whole thing open for under 40K, which was pretty good considering what all I had going there. Now, I was pinching pennies. My rent was, this was after I started my garage, I got my first space. My rent at the time was like 3,500 bucks. Okay? Which to me that was a lot of money at the time. Now, when I expanded, my fixed costs ended up being exceeding 10K for a little gym, and that just it is what it is. But when I was starting out, I was pinching pennies all the time, and I thought so. Couple different stories here. Number one is I was projecting my money mindset on my clients. So here's what I mean. I was serving. My gym was more expensive gym in the area, and it wasn't always. So at the beginning, it wasn't. And it was because I would say things to myself like, well, I wouldn't spend that on X, Y, or Z, right? And that's because I had done all the training. It was like I knew all the stuff. Uh, but now I absolutely spend a lot of money on things that I don't know much about. And I even hear the same mindset stuff being said by people in my position. So, for example, if I started out, I think I was charging like 135 bucks a month for memberships. But I would tell myself stuff like, "Man, I wouldn't spend 135 bucks for a gym membership, whatever." But I knew everything about it, and they weren't spending it on just a gym membership. It was like a very personalized experience. There was tons of benefits, and frankly, it was way too cheap. And long story short, I did end up increasing rates, and I ended up landing at around 210. But at the time when I was saying the things like I wouldn't pay that, it was because I literally couldn't afford it. So now I go through this with my clients a lot, where a lot of clients can't, or sorry, a lot of business owners wouldn't be able to afford their own service when they start out. Okay, so they tell themselves these stories, and it's this money mindset thing, and it's all wrong. Okay, so yeah, if you can't afford your own service, that's fine, but get to the point where you could, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't charge what you're worth. Okay, so that's like one little money mindset thing. But mindset, it's a lot deeper. If we can future pace a little bit what we actually want to become, and we get into that mindset, we start living the way that that person would live. Have you ever read the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill? It was written in like 1937, but it's this exact philosophy. And some of the most successful people in the world have read this book. And it's not like you sit on the couch just thinking about, you know, money and cars and stuff like that. That's not it. Okay. It is an aspect of it, but it's more becoming the person that you want to be. It doesn't have a whole lot to do with things unless that's you. But most people that I work with, if you're watching this video, you're probably more excited by freedom like time freedom and experiences at this point, yeah, you might want to upgrade your car or your house or something like that, but that doesn't mean as much to you as taking an afternoon off to spend with your family, taking your kids to Disney, right? These are experiential. They're a little bit more important than the nicest car in the neighborhood. But the whole base for all this stuff for your personal growth is having the mindset of the person that can actually grow, right? And you don't have to go crazy with it, right? Maybe you already have a great mindset. You don't have to spend that much time on it. But I do find that with most of my clients, we got a lot of issues that go way deeper than just the money mindset problem that I was talking about. Taking a leap into coaching, I remember, I think it was my first or second year uh, owning my gym, and it was when I hired my first coach. Okay. Now, this guy, I think he cut me a deal, but I think I spent like 5K on this coach, and I literally maxed out a couple different credit cards to do it, and I was really scared. I'm like, what if this isn't going to work? What if this, you know, what if the guy doesn't even know what he's talking about? I barely know him, right? But I took that leap, and I'm glad I did because that leap taught me one thing. Now, he was great. He taught me a lot of stuff about starting my business and getting it launched. He made me a lot of money, essentially, way more worth it than that initial investment. Now, I've also hired coaches since that I still learned from, even though the ROI wasn't necessarily there. I had another coach who took me down a rabbit hole that I wish I had never gone down, but now I know that that's not for me. So even though I spent 7,500 on this guy, this was years later, uh, I know that that stuff is not worth me pursuing. Okay, so for you watching this video right now, all I'm saying is your mindset is the frame for everything. And sometimes taking a leap, and I'm not talking about jumping into a coaching agreement for 10 or 20 grand right now. All I'm saying is shifting your mind into understanding that sometimes experiences are more valuable and learning is more valuable than being the person who you used to be. Being the person who you used to be has gotten you this far. Okay, so you've had some success. That's good. But it's not going to get you to the next step. Okay, so you got to start stepping into the shoes of the new person that you want to be. All right, in the next video, we're going to go a little bit more into the weeds, not on mindset stuff, but more on the other pillars for your wheel of life and particularly in your business.